tied with 3 meters of paracord. 3 meters is more than we actually need, but it does give us a bit of room for manoeuvre. Here's how we did it. The coaster can be tied with the aid of pins or sticky tape. With practice you won't need these, but for this demonstration I'll use a few pieces of sticky tape. Here I'm tying the coaster flat on a food tray. I don't want to tie it on an expensive wooden table because of the sticky tape. The standing end I'll tape down. It's called the standing end because it stands there and does nothing. The working end, in other words the end I'll be doing the tying with, has a lacing needle attached. A lacing needle isn't strictly necessary, but it does make the threading of cord easier. If you do tape down the standing end, leave a few inches beyond the tape. Okay, let's start. I'll make a loop at the bottom and put some tape over that to keep it in place. That loop needs to be 4 to 6 inches below the tape at the standing end. You'll notice throughout the video that I'm actually tying this in a clockwise direction. It could be tied anti-clockwise, but I'm going clockwise. Take the working end towards the top, then thread it under the cord that we've taped down. I'll use another piece of tape to hold that bend at the top in place, but I'll resist using any more tape after this because it'll only get in the way. I could use more tape, but I have enough there now, I think, to hold the shape together. Use more tape if you like, but be prepared to take it off if it makes life difficult. At this point I'm going to replace video with diagrams because they will be easier to follow. These diagrams you can find in your workshop document. We will return to the video when we start doubling the cord. I'll leave each diagram on screen for 5 seconds. If you need longer, then simply pause the video. And don't worry too much about the coaster being exactly square for the moment. This can be sorted out after we've completed the first pass and we start tightening up and doubling. Here I am, just threading the cord through to complete the first pass. As we did with Turk's heads, now is a good time to make sure that we've tied things properly before doubling stuff up. Follow the cord from the standing end and the cord should go over, under, etc. until you reach the end. There should be nowhere where there are 2 consecutive overs or unders. Not looking very square at the moment, is it? I'll remove any tape holding things down and start manipulating the knot so it's close to the shape I want. It is imperative that I don't rush. Yes, I know you've heard it all before, but it's worth repeating. With this coaster, it's easy to unthread the standing end or even the working end when we start doubling up. These are the areas we've got to be particularly careful with. This is one good reason for leaving the standing end protruding a few inches when we taped it down at the start. Yeah, it's looking a little better now, but I can do a little more squaring up perhaps. And it looks like I've still got some tape there, so I'll get rid of that too. Remember how this was tied in a clockwise direction? Well, you may notice that I'm also tightening in a clockwise direction. Tightening this way means that my working end keeps all the cord required for doubling up. I'd rather not finish up with the standing end taking up too much slack. I want that at the other end. That's reasonably square now, so I'll start doubling up. I'll take my working end and pass it back alongside itself. I leave a little loop protruding, and I must make sure that it stays protruding slightly away from the coaster. I don't want that loop disappearing back into the knot. If we look at the finished coaster, you can see what I mean. Now it's a case of following the cord around, tracing alongside the bits already tied. Patience, patience, patience. Take your time and make sure that the knot remains flat by following the cord to the same side all the way. Here I'm passing the looped end of my cord, and I need to make sure that the overs and unders around here don't get disturbed and that the looped end stays where it should. Here I'm taking the cord past the standing end, and again I need to make sure that the overs and unders around here don't get disturbed or dislodged and the standing end stays where it should. Now I've reached the standing end, so I've finished doubling. A little more adjustment I think to get things square. Working around the looped end, I must be careful yet again not to disturb the overs and unders, which can quite easily be done now that things are getting tighter. The loop is now far too big, so I'll need to pull one end back, not too far, and work that backwards towards the standing end. At this point I can decide exactly how much of that loop I want protruding. Well, it looks like that loop is protruding too much still, so I could either adjust the whole thing once more, or I could simply cut the loop a bit closer to the coaster. When I'm happy, I can also cut off the excess cord at the standing end too, and my coaster's finished. As with so many projects, it's helpful to occasionally look at an image of the finished article so that you know what you're aiming for. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.